Hey everyone, Fina here from Fina Reads. Welcome back to my channel with a new video. Today I want to talk about 5 fantasy series. And before I dive into that, I have a question for you. How do you read series in general, no matter if it's fantasy, science fiction, or thrillers or whatever? Do you read the book right when it comes out? So you start with book 1 the moment it comes out, and then you wait a year or longer till book 2 is there? Or do you wait till the entire series is out and then you binge read it? Well, I started buying books immediately the moment they came out. Thank you, BookTube FOMO. Not a good thing. And then over time I switched to kind of waiting until all books are out, so I don't have to wait a year and potentially reread all of the books in the series. Like, it gets a lot. There are a couple of series though where I will do that. Some of those that I'm going to talk about today are exactly those types of series where I read every book when it comes out and reread the books from before, right before that. I hope that kind of makes sense. And for some series that I'm extremely excited about, I've been waiting till the last book came out before I actually am starting with the series. I have 5 sci-fi fantasy series that I want to talk with you about that I am super excited to be continuing / finally binge reading this year still. So in no particular order, I'm going to start with a Dead Rockstar series by Layla Lawson. This is an urban fantasy series about a zombie rock star that the main character accidentally, with a spell, kind of reawoken? Is that the word for a zombie? I'm not quite sure. You know what I mean. He was dead. She made a spell. Now he's alive, but he's kind of a zombie. This was super fun. This was kind of quirky, lighthearted, but with a good roughness around it. The main character had just a great history. I really like the life of the main character and how they dealt with the situation of all of a sudden their favorite dead rock star being alive and with them, kinda. And it's just great. If you're a music lover, this is just a great series to read. So I'm not a huge music lover, but it's still a great series to read. So what can I say? Parliament House, which is the publisher of the series, when book 2 came out and they asked me if I wanted a copy and if I want to review it. And I said, like, well, I haven't even read book 1. So they sent me the ebook for book 1 and 2 and I totally loved it. So I read book 1 and 2 pretty much right one after another. I then bought the paperbacks because I loved them so much. And now this year, book 3 is coming out. I don't know if the series is ending or what, but this is one of those series where I will read book 1 and 2 again before going into book 3, which is, I think, being released in August this year. So this is definitely a nice over the summer type of read. They are super fast reads too, so it's not that I will sit there forever and do that. But since it has been, I think, a bit more than 2 years that I've read book 1 and 2, I definitely want to reread both of them prior for book 3 coming out, or somehow at the same time. We'll see. Next up is such a high anticipated series. Is that even a way of saying that? I have no idea. But Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhaus is the next series that I think it's finishing out with book 3. I think it's a trilogy. I'm not 100% sure right now. Let me know in the comments if I'm right or not with that one. But Black Sun has been a favorite read back when it came out in... I should know these types of things, shouldn't I? 2020. So this was a favorite read back in 2020. And funny enough, I read this book during a camping trip. And we're about to go on a camping trip again, and I'm taking this book with me. This is my camping read. But I will read book 2 pretty immediately after, and book 3 is coming out next month. So all of them will be read in relatively short order to each other, and I'm super excited about it. This was one of those where I read book 1, not immediately after it came out. I actually initially didn't want to buy it because the cover kind of freaked me out. But then at one point I was like, you know what, I'll just grab it and see what it is about because the premise sounds amazing. So this is, just in case you don't know, it's a Colombian-inspired fantasy series. Yeah, pre-Columbian America's inspired fantasy series with super cool characters. The world is incredible. The writing is incredible. The plot is incredible. I ate this book up within maybe 2 days. So it was a really fast read. And then when book 2 came out, I got it immediately, but then I paused. I was like, no, I do not want to wait another year. And then it actually got delayed. I think there were some delays in there between book 2 and book 3. It's like, I do not want to read this book now and then wait yet another. I'm impatient, people. Like, it just doesn't work. So I put the whole series aside, and then I said, instead of rereading book 1 when book 2 came out, and then read book 2, and then again when book 3 comes out, reading book 1 and 2, and then book 3, ain't nobody has time for that. I waited till now book 3 is coming out, and now I will read the whole series in one thing, because I think it's going to be worth it. The next series is one of those where I completely waited. I haven't read book 1, I haven't read book 2, well, obviously, and book 3 came out a little bit earlier this year, in February, if I'm not mistaken. That's the Realmbreaker series by Victoria Aveyard, and this is more of a YA series, I assume, at least. I've read Red Queen by her, the Red Queen series, which is 4 main books and 2 short story collections. And you have to read at least one of the short story collections, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, doesn't matter. That series has gotten me back into reading a couple of years ago. So I had kind of a reading break where I didn't read as much. And that series has gotten me back in. And since then, I've been basically reading nonstop. And she came out with that Realmbreaker series shortly after. And it's like Fate Breaker and Something Breaker. Like, all the series are with Something Breaker. And I've been patiently waiting for book 3 to come out. Thankfully, this woman writes really fast. So this is a series that is really high up my TBR. I think it's also YA, so it's going to be a quick read. It's probably not going to be the next book that I'm going to pick up, but I definitely want to read it this year because I've been waiting for this. And I think this is one of those series, because the Red Queen series by her, I completely binged the whole thing in one swoop, so I have a feeling this is going to be similar. YA fantasy series also have the tendency to have ginormous cliffhanger endings where you're just sitting there, it's like, are you freaking kidding me right now? Why are you doing this to me? So I have a feeling this is going to be one of them. And that was another reason why I was just completely waiting with this one. I have not even read a chapter or anything. I really completely put it away. Don't even tempt me at all. And it was in a corner somewhere, but now book 3 is out. I already have book 2 here, and book 3 I probably get pretty easy nowadays. So, yes. Series number 4 is an all-time favorite of mine. It's a book that I found by accident by going through Amazon, and it popped up at one point. And first of all, the cover looked really cool. The premise sounded amazing. So I just got it. And then you know how it is. You buy an ebook and then it takes you forever to read it. But then I read it at one point and I was hooked. This story is incredible. So Gunmetal Gods by Samuel Akhtar, in case you have never heard of this, right now it's, or since then, it's actually a pretty, like, it exploded pretty much on BookTube as a series, is a Middle Eastern inspired grim dark fantasy. It's described as Game of Thrones meets Arabian Nights, and usually those comparisons are totally off for me, but that is actually pretty apt. Although I have to say, I like this a lot better than Game of Thrones. So I've read Gunmetal Gods 2 times or 3 times by now, because I always reread them again before the next book comes out. Book 4 is planned for release sometime in 2024, summer-ish. We'll see. So as soon as I have a date, I will start reading these books again. Maybe even do them on audiobook since they're available on audio now. Do yourself a favor if you like grimdark. So you really have to enjoy dark stuff, because this is not easy on you and it doesn't get better as the series continues. So if you enjoy dark fantasy reads, I highly recommend just get book 1, just get Gunmetal Gods, give it a go, and then continue reading them. And the last series that I want to talk about that I'm actually in the middle of reading is the Rainfallen Saga, or what is it called? The Rainfallen series or Rainfallen Saga, with Salt in the Wound is book 1 and Secret of the Thistle is book 2, and book 3 is coming out June 4th, so in a couple of days. And I'm in the middle of book 2. For this one, I was actually contemplating. So I read book 1, I got it. It was part of an escapist book tour where I got a review copy, and we were part of a bigger book tour with across multiple Instagram accounts. And that's when I read it and I fell in love with it, because it has a very unique premise of it being in a fantasy world, but in the dystopian future, which I thought was kind of cool. And that has been 1.5, 2-ish years ago. So I thought, let me start reading book 2, because I remembered a lot of things still from book 1 and the characters and what was going on. And I thought, let me read book 2. Let's just get started and see how far I get. If I'm completely lost, I'll just stop and read book 1. And thankfully, or not, I don't know. I mean, eventually I want to read the entire series together, one after another. But at least for right now, it was totally fine. So book 2 it's not like it tells you everything in a summary, what's happening. But as the story progressed, I'm about halfway through now. As the story progressed, I remembered all the characters and what happened before again. So he did a really good job in making sure you know what's going on without having like pages of summaries of, well, in book 1, this is what happened. Or, 3 years ago when book 1 was playing, blah, blah, blah. Like none of that. He did it in a very smart way that it was part of the story and it was not an infodump type of situation. Also a series that I highly recommend, so I'm really curious to see how things continue and what is actually going on with some of those fantastical beasts that are very important in the series. It's also very different, which I enjoy. While it has Arthurian elements in it, and it plays in Britain, so it has generally a more Western vibe, he brings some really cool new elements into your typical Western fantasy in there, which I really appreciate. And again, the one thing that I find really fascinating about the series is the fact that it plays in an old world where electricity is basically not a thing, those kind of things, but it is in the future. Those are the 5 series that I wanted to talk about, where I'm super excited that I can finally continue them. I have a lot of other series where I got book 1 and then I decided, you know what? I've started enough series where I still have to wait for books to be published. I will wait on all of those. I will wait till they are done and then I will read them. I will not do that again, where I love a book so much that I then just sit there impatiently. It's like, when does it continue? And then things get delayed. Things happen. It's fine. But I will not do that to myself anymore. No, I'm done. Are you reading any of those series? Have you read any of the books in this series? Have you maybe finished some of those that are already finished, where we are not waiting of the next book in this series? What do you think of them? Let me know down in the comments. And then I hope I see you soon with my next video. Have a great rest of your day. See you soon.